Have you ever felt that invisible force field around certain tasks at work
Hmm.
where everyone just implicitly agrees, oh, that's not my job?
Yeah,
Or maybe you've seen a problem like quietly growing, but it's not quite urgent enough for anyone to really tackle it, so it just lingers.
definitely that kind of collective blind spot.
Exactly. It's that subtle blind spot that often hides the biggest risks. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into precisely that kind of blind spot, specifically within the world of IT and cybersecurity.
Right.
Our mission is to unpack why, despite all their technical know-how, IT professionals often overlook critical cybersecurity measures until, tragically it's far too late.
It happens way too often.
It really does. We've pulled together insights from quite a few sources that reveal, get this, 15 distinct and honestly fascinating reasons behind this.
15. Wow, that's quite a list.
It is. And for you, our listener, think of this as a shortcut, a way to understand these often hidden organizational, psychological challenges.
Giving you those aha moments.
Exactly. Those moments about why companies get breached even when they genuinely believe they're safe. This isn't just about tech glitches.
No, it's much deeper. It's human nature, organizational structure, how we even perceive risk.
Couldn't agree more. Let's jump in. Okay, so one of the biggest reasons we consistently see, it sounds simple, but it's not my job mindset.
Ah, yes, the classic pass the buck.
Pretty much. You've got sysadmins focused on uptime, network engineers on connectivity, developers banging out features.
Mm.
But where does security actually fit?
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on this, especially in, say, larger organizations? Is it just people dodging responsibility, or is it something more structural?
Oh, it's far more than just avoidance. It's deeply cultural.
Oh,
And
no,
structural roles get so narrowly defined,
right.
right?
Compartmentalized?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A sysadmin's performance metric might be server uptime. A developer's is shipping code fast, so when a security recommendation lands on their desk that
Yeah.
might, slow them down or affect those metrics,
They push back.
they push back. Or they think, that's security's problem, not mine. It creates these really dangerous blind spots, sometimes even active resistance.
And we saw this play out so starkly with one company's web dev team. They were under a crazy deadline for a new customer portal.
Always the deadlines.
Always. So they spin up a staging server, test the app, push it live, and then just left that staging server running online.
fair.
Yeah. Unpatched, and crucially, it still had default credentials.
Oof, the trifecta.
Totally. Now, here's the kicker. Sysadmins saw it in their inventory lists, but figured, that's a dev thing.
Right, not my box.
The security team hadn't audited the dev environment recently, and the network team. They'd opened a firewall port for testing and just forgot to close it.
Simple oversight, massive consequence.
Exactly. 2 months later, that staging server gets breached.
Yeah.
An old Apache exploit. Customer data starts walking out the door.
It's such a classic case. Everyone saw a piece of it, but nobody owned the security of that specific server. So it became this forgotten vulnerability. And if everyone thinks security is someone else's job,
It becomes no one's job.
precisely. And that's exactly where attackers find their way in.
Expanding on that,
Mm.
another really compelling reason is, well, it's psychological. It's this blind spot. The "it won't happen to me" syndrome.
Ah, the optimism bias.
Textbook optimism bias. The belief that bad things are for other people.
Mm.
In IT, it sounds like we're too small to be a target, or why would a hacker care about us?
But we've never had a problem before.
Right. That one too. How often do you actually encounter this thinking in the real world? And what's the biggest mistake people make with that logic?
Oh, it's incredibly common, especially like you said, outside the really big companies. The core misconception is that attacks are always targeted, highly specific.
Yeah, like in the movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The reality is most cyber attacks are opportunistic. Attackers aren't sitting there thinking, I'm going after Bob's small business today.
Right.
They're using automated bots, tools like Shodan, that search engine for internet-connected things, scanning millions of IPs for any known vulnerability. An open RDP port, outdated software,
Anything easy.
anything easy. If you're exposed, you're a target. Period. It's not personal.
We saw this so vividly with a small-town hospital. Really lean IT staff.
Mm-hmm.
One full-timer, a part-timer, no dedicated security person.
Sounds familiar for smaller places.
Totally. Consultants came in, recommended network segmentation, MFA, an external pen test. The usual good stuff.
Standard best practices.
But leadership dismissed it. Their reasoning. We're just a rural clinic. Nobody's coming after us.
Famous last words.
Tell me about it. So they carried on. RDP exposed to the internet, legacy systems unpatched, some shared user credentials.
Oh, boy.
6 months later, a ransomware as a service group hits that open RDP port. Patient records encrypted, ambulances rerouted, clinic shut down for 2 weeks.
Devastating.
Completely blindsided them.
I
But
bet.
from the attacker's view, it's just low-hanging fruit. Another easy target found by a scan.
And that's the key point. If you believe you're too small or too obscure to be attacked, you've essentially painted a target on your back.
Because you're not taking the basic steps.
Exactly. Attackers just look for the easiest way in. If you aren't patching, if you aren't using MFA, you're making yourself very easy.
Okay, another really significant misconception we run into all the time is confusing compliance with actual security.
Ah, yes. The compliance checkbox trap.
Right. So many organizations proudly announce, we're HIPAA compliant, or we passed our PCI audit. But what does that really mean for their day-to-day security?
Can you break down that difference for us? Is compliance really just ticking boxes?
That's a critical distinction, yeah. Compliance is about meeting external rules or standards. Think HIPAA for healthcare, PCI DSS for payment cards, GDPR for privacy.
It's often periodic, right? Like an annual check.
Exactly. Often periodic, checklist-driven, kind of static. Security, on the other hand, is the proactive, continuous effort to protect your systems, your data, from real-world threats that are constantly changing.
The attackers don't care about your audit report from 6 months ago.
Not one bit. They're looking for vulnerabilities right now. Think about a regional financial institution. They passed their PCI DSS audit with flying colors, checked all the boxes for cardholder data protection, firewall rules, that sort of thing.
Okay, sounds good on paper.
On paper,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what wasn't in the scope for that audit, critical areas like their development environment, which used test card data, by the way,
Oh, interesting.
also out of scope. A third-party contractor who had VPN access, but no MFA, and several internal apps that didn't directly process payments, but held other sensitive info.
So, gaps. Big gaps.
Huge gaps. Shortly after the audit, a phishing attack compromises a developer's account. That dev had access to those test environments.
Ah, the foothold.
Exactly. Attackers pivot from there into internal systems, start pulling out sensitive customer data. Turns out the dev system used hard-coded credentials, had a login turned off.
Wow. So they were compliant.
Compliant on paper, but incredibly vulnerable in reality.
This is exactly why we always say compliance doesn't equal security. It's so crucial. Passing an audit just means you followed the rules for that specific snapshot in time.
Right, it's point in time.
It doesn't mean you're actually protected against a dynamic threat landscape or that all your critical systems are secured. It's like passing your driving test once.
Yeah.
You still need to drive defensively every single day, right? You don't just assume you'll never have an accident because you passed the test years ago.
That's a great analogy. Okay, moving on to a related challenge. This persistent perception that security slows things down.
Oh, yeah, the friction argument.
Totally. In today's IT world, speed is everything, isn't it? Patching systems, rolling out new features, onboarding users, massive pressure to move fast.
Constant pressure.
But security measures, they often introduce friction, don't they? How does that tension really play out in IT departments day to day?
It creates this constant, this tug of war. Security measures like multi-factor authentication, proper change control, pen testing, patching cycles, secure code reviews. They inherently add steps. They add time.
They slow things down from a certain perspective.
But in that perspective, yes. So IT pros, under pressure to hit deadlines, often start seeing security as, well, an obstacle, a roadblock. And the mentality shifts to, let's just get it working now, we'll secure it later.
Ah, the infamous secure it later.
Which, as we know, often means secure it never.
Exactly. We saw this with the DevOps team. Huge pressure to launch a new cloud app. Security recommended implementing proper RBAC, role-based access control.
Standard stuff.
Standard stuff. Container vulnerability scans, encrypting sensitive environment variables.
Right.
But every single one of those recommendations would add time to the deployment schedule.
Delay the launch.
Delay the launch. So to hit the date, they skipped them?
Oh, boy. Predictable outcome.
Pretty much. 3 weeks later, a security researcher finds a misconfigured container. Default root access. Publicly reported.
Ouch.
Big ouch. Company had to pull the entire application offline, issue a press release, do the whole post-mortem, work like crazy to rebuild trust.
All because they skipped the delay up front.
Exactly. In hindsight, that upfront delay of securing it properly would have saved them weeks of pain, plus significant brand damage.
It really highlights that tension, doesn't it? Perceived short-term efficiency versus
Mm.
actual long-term resilience.
Yeah.
Prioritizing that immediate speed over security often leads to much, much bigger delays and costs down the line because those critical gaps, they're just left wide open.
Speaking of things being open,
Hmm.
let's talk about something incredibly common. Anyone dealing with digital systems knows this feeling. Alert fatigue.
The sheer noise.
Right. If you ever read your phone just buzz nonstop with notifications until you start ignoring all of them,
Hmm.
you get it.
Sensory overload.
In cybersecurity, modern IT setups generate massive amounts of alerts. Firewalls, AV, SIEMs, these security information and event management systems, cloud monitoring tools.
Hmm.
It's a flood.
It can be overwhelming.
So what typically causes these tools, which are meant to help, to actually become part of the problem?
It's usually a mix of things. Default configurations are a big one. Tools just spitting out alerts based on generic settings, not tuned for the specific environment.
So lots of false positives.
Tons of false positives. Then there's poor integration between tools, maybe overlapping alerts, and critically, understaffed security teams, just not enough people to handle the volume.
Right.
This just leads to desensitization. Teams get swamped, they start ignoring alerts, they delay responses, or they even start turning off certain alert categories just to reduce the noise.
Trying to find the signal in the noise, but the noise wins.
Exactly. And then the real threat, it gets buried, lost in the flood.
Imagine an IT team. They install a shiny new SIEM system to monitor their network. Big investment.
Okay.
But they leave it on the default alert thresholds. They don't customize the rules for their network, their normal traffic patterns.
Common to state.
So, result, hundreds of alerts every single day, multiple failed logins, PowerShell activity detected, anomalous outbound connection. You know the drill.
The usual suspects.
At first they try, they investigate. But after a few weeks, none of these alerts turn out to be real incidents. And it's taking hours just to sort through the logs.
Burning valuable time.
Totally.
Yep.
So they start muting categories, marking entire alert types as low priority. Eventually, they pretty much stop looking unless something else seems obviously wrong.
The sum becomes shelfware, effectively.
Pretty much. 3 months later, a real attacker uses valid, compromised user credentials to exfiltrate sensitive data. The sum did flag the unusual outbound transfer, but it was buried. Deep in the unreviewed alert queue, nobody noticed until a third-party partner calls them up and says, your data just appeared on the dark web.
Ouch. Reactive, not proactive.
A security tool that just drowns you in noise becomes a liability, doesn't it? Not an asset.
Absolutely. It creates this false sense of security while actually making the problem worse. You can't act on what you can't see or what's hidden by 1,000 false alarms.
And this ties directly into another issue we see constantly. This belief that simply buying more security tools automatically equals better security.
Ah, the tool soup problem. Throwing tech at the problem.
Exactly. Organizations fall into this trap. They invest heavily in, the latest EDR, endpoint detection and response vulnerability scanners, cloud posture management tools, a whole suite of things.
Shiny new toys.
But often without a clear strategy for how to actually use them effectively. So is it just about having the tools, or is there a bigger strategic piece missing here?
It is absolutely about strategy and execution. The tools themselves are just enablers, right? They don't do anything on their own.
Right.
Without a clear plan for how they'll be configured, how they'll be monitored, who's going to act on the findings, they just create this illusion of security.
An illusion. I like that.
Yeah. They get deployed, but maybe not tuned properly. Alerts fire, but nobody reviews them. Reports get generated, vulnerabilities listed, but no action is taken.
So it's like having a state-of-the-art home security system.
But never plugging it in or never looking at the camera feeds. It's just sitting there.
Right. Consider a growing tech firm. After a competitor gets hit with ransomware, they panic and decide, we need to tighten up security.
Understandable reaction.
So they go on a spending spree, top-tier SIEM, fancy vulnerability management software, cloud workload protection, the works.
Checking the boxes with purchases.
Yep. But the SIEM, it's logging tens of thousands of events daily, and nobody's trained to tune it or correlate the alerts effectively. The vulnerability scanner finds hundreds of outdated software packages.
Oh.
But remediation gets postponed indefinitely. Lack of resources. Cloud security tickets get flagged by the new tool, but they just get buried in the existing backlog.
So tools bought, problems persist.
Exactly. Meanwhile, an attacker breaches them through a publicly exposed development server. No MFA. Easy pickings. They exfiltrate sensitive data over several weeks.
Did the tools see it?
Here's the thing. The SIEM technically did see bits and pieces of it, anomalous logins, data movement, but nobody noticed or understood the signal through the overwhelming noise and lack of focused analysis.
It's such a stark reminder. Security tools don't make you secure. Informed action does.
Yeah.
Just buying technology without a strategy for how you're going to implement it, manage it, and respond to it, that's often just, well, expensive procrastination.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. One of the really foundational problems we often uncover is, honestly, a simple lack of training or awareness among IT pros themselves.
Back to basics almost?
Kind of. Many people enter the IT field with strong technical skills systems, networking, development, but very little formal education in actual cybersecurity principles.
That's true. It's often not core curriculum.
Right. Why do you think this gap exists, and how does it show up in common security blind spots?
Well, it's pretty systemic, isn't it? Traditional college programs, even many certifications, often prioritize teaching how to make things work, functionality, over how to build them securely.
Function over form or function over security in this case.
Exactly. And on-the-job training, it tends to be reactive, fixing problems that have already happened, not necessarily preventing future ones. So the result is many skilled IT pros don't truly understand what an attack path looks like from the attacker's perspective, or they mistakenly believe basic defenses like, the built-in Windows firewall and a basic antivirus are good enough.
They just don't recognize the danger signs.
Precisely. They fail to recognize potentially dangerous misconfigurations because they simply haven't been taught to see the risks. Without that foundational security awareness, vulnerabilities just linger. And it's a known issue. The ISC Cybersecurity Workforce Study found over 60% of organizations cite a lack of security skills across the general IT staff as a major challenge.
60%. That statistic really drives it home. We saw this with a junior systems admin. Nice guy, technically capable, tasked with spinning up several Windows Server VMs for a new customer portal.
Okay, common task.
Very common.
Yeah.
So he enables RDP for remote access, uses local admin accounts with weak passwords like welcome one.
Oh no, not welcome one.
I wish I was kidding. Leaves default ports open, doesn't apply group policies, doesn't enforce password complexity. Why?
Because nobody told him not to.
Exactly. Nobody had taught him otherwise.
Yeah.
The servers worked. They met the project's technical specs. So mission accomplished, right?
From his perspective, yeah.
Weeks later, a ransomware group, using one of those automated shouting callers we talked about, finds the exposed RDP service. Servers compromised within minutes using simple brute force login attempts.
And the impact.
Company suffers downtime, loses customer trust, spends weeks and lots of money on incident response. All stemming from that fundamental gap in basic security understanding.
It's crucial, isn't it? It wasn't malice. It wasn't laziness. It was just a lack of foundational knowledge creating incredibly dangerous holes.
Yeah.
It really raises that question. How can you possibly fix what you don't even know is broken?
Okay, let's tackle another really pervasive belief. We're covered because we have a firewall and antivirus.
Ah, the old firewall and AV security blanket.
Totally. For many years, these were the main pillars of digital defense, right? But relying on just those today, it can be incredibly dangerous.
Hugely dangerous.
Can you explain why that mindset is just, well, insufficient now?
It's a false sense of security, primarily because the threat landscape has evolved so dramatically. Firewalls, still crucial, absolutely, but they mainly block what they're explicitly told to block.
Right, based on rules.
Based on rules. They often miss insider threats or encrypted malicious traffic that might look legitimate coming through standard ports like 443. And antivirus, traditional AV, is often signature-based.
Meaning it looks for known bad stuff.
Exactly. It relies on recognizing known malware signatures, so it can easily miss 0 days, brand new, never-before-seen attacks. And it struggles with the sophisticated tactics like fileless malware or living off the land binaries.
Where attackers use legitimate system tools, like PowerShell.
Precisely, using the system's own tools against it. So this outdated firewall and AV is enough mindset. It prevents investment in other crucial layers of defense: endpoint detection and response, behavioral analysis, proper logging and monitoring.
Imagine an IT manager at a mid-sized company proudly states, yep, we've got a solid perimeter firewall. AV on all endpoints we're good.
Heard that one before.
Me too. But behind the scenes, RDP is exposed to the internet. No monitoring, no geo-restriction. There's no multi-factor authentication for remote workers. The firewall isn't logging properly, or maybe nobody's looking at the logs. And oh, the AV license. Expired 6 months ago.
The reality behind the statement.
It's completely different. So an attacker launches a simple brute force attack against that OpenRDP port. Uses some lead credentials found online, gets in.
Easy entry.
Once inside, they use PowerShell built right into Windows to move laterally. They dump passwords using Mimikatz, a tool that pulls credentials from memory. Traditional AV often misses that.
Because it's abusing legitimate processes.
Exactly. And then, once they have domain admin access, deploy ransomware. Game over. Despite all the supposed protection, the company ends up paying a hefty ransom because their traditional tools just weren't equipped for modern attacks. And crucially, nobody was actually watching the logs or looking for anomalies.
It's such a critical lesson. Firewalls and AV are like strong locks on your front door. Absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
But if attackers already have your keys from a data breach, or if they're climbing in through an unlocked back window like that RDP port,
Yeah.
those front door locks offer very little real protection. You need layers.
Layers and visibility.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Here's one of the most insidious challenges, I think. It's that dreaded phrase, we've always done it this way. Inertia.
Ugh. The comfort zone that becomes the danger zone.
Perfectly put. What fuels this kind of resistance to change? Especially when it comes to security improvements.
It really stems from several places, doesn't it? There's often a genuine fear of breaking something that's currently working, even if it's working insecurely.
If it ain't broke.
Don't fix it. Exactly. There's also a reliance on outdated tribal knowledge. Only Bob knows how that system works, and he retired last year.
Oh yeah, the institutional knowledge problem.
And frankly, sometimes it's just the sheer effort involved in migrating or updating legacy systems. It's hard work.
It is.
So many IT environments are just filled with systems that have been running for years, maybe decades, and nobody wants to be the one to touch them, to poke the bear.
Right.
This leads directly to unpatched systems, ancient operating systems, hard-coded passwords embedded in scripts, flat networks where everything can talk to everything, all persisting because that's how it's always been. And attackers, they love this stuff. Neglected, forgotten systems are prime targets.
We saw this at a university IT department. They were still running several crucial Windows, 2008 R2 servers, departmental file shares, faculty portals. Really important stuff.
End of life years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Couldn't be patched properly because the applications running on them needed old legacy frameworks. They weren't isolated from the rest of the network. And the main admin account used a password that was created like 7 years prior.
Oh, wow.
So a junior engineer, new to the team, asked the obvious question. Why don't we migrate this to something newer? And the response from the senior guys, don't touch that box. If it goes down, the registrar's office will have our heads.
Fear overriding security.
Totally. Then one day, surprise, surprise, the unpatched server gets hit by the eternal blue vulnerability. Same one used in WannaCry.
Nasty one.
Attackers use it to get a foothold, move laterally across that flat network, and encrypt critical systems all over the campus. When leadership asked, how did this happen? The answer was basically because that's how it's always been done, and nobody wanted to be the one to change it.
The takeaway there is just, it's profound. What feels comfortable and stable for IT can be incredibly convenient and welcoming for attackers.
Yeah.
In the world of security, we've always done it this way is often just another way of saying we've never actually checked if it's still safe.
And closely related to that inertia, building right on it, is the pervasive fear of breaking things.
The uptime obsession.
Exactly. In so many IT environments, uptime is absolutely king. SLAs, customer experience, keeping the business running these keys often take priority over security changes, which are inherently seen as, well, potential risks to availability.
Security changes can cause outages if not done carefully.
They can. So how does this fear manifest in the day-to-day choices IT professionals make? And what are the long-term consequences?
It leads to what I sometimes call security paralysis. IT pros will actively avoid applying patches that require server reboots. They'll delay enabling MFA for fear of locking users out. They might even avoid updating configurations on firewalls or servers, all because they're terrified of causing an outage and getting blamed for it.
Understandable fear, in a way?
It is understandable, but it creates this culture of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, even when the system is glaringly vulnerable. The internal monologue becomes, if I touch this, I might take down production, and then it's my fault. So insecure configurations persist, outdated protocols linger, known vulnerabilities go unpatched, not out of ignorance necessarily, but out of this risk avoidance. Misguided, but understandable.
That's a really powerful driver. Consider a large enterprise. They relied on a critical file transfer system running on an old Windows Server 2012 box. And it was using SMBV1.
Oh, SMBV1 deprecated super vulnerable.
Exactly. The security team repeatedly recommended disable SMBV1, apply the latest OS patches, or better yet, replace the server with something modern.
Sensible recommendation.
But the infrastructure team pushed back hard. Look, if we patch this or disable SMBV1, we could break the transfer process for 5 different departments. It's critical. They asked for time to test a migration plan.
Which kept getting delayed.
Kept getting delayed,
Oh.
quarter after quarter. Too busy. Other priorities. Until one day, a ransomware worm exploits that very SMBV1 vulnerability, spreads laterally, encrypts not just the legacy server, but other connected systems too. The recovery. Far more painful, far more costly than any planned controlled change would ever have been.
It's such a bitter truth, isn't it? Avoiding those controlled changes to keep things running often just means leaving the door wide open for attackers to come in and shut it all down instead.
Yeah.
The fear of a minor control disruption leads directly to major catastrophic outages down the line.
Okay, let's talk about accountability. Or maybe the lack of it. If something visibly breaks in IT, like email goes down, someone usually gets called out pretty quickly, right?
Phones start ringing off the hook.
But what about those hidden security flaws?
Yeah.
The ones that just fester silently. That often comes down to this idea of no direct accountability.
The blame game or the lack of pre-blame assignment.
Exactly. Why is it so hard to pinpoint responsibility for security failures before a breach actually happens?
Well, security failures are often incredibly diffuse, aren't they? It makes assigning fault tricky. A misconfiguration might have originated with one team, say, the network team opening a port. An unpatched system might technically fall under the server team's purview. An access control policy might be vague or just non-existent. Maybe that's HR or IT governance.
It crosses boundaries.
It crosses boundaries. So when a breach finally occurs, tracing it back to one single point of failure, one person's fault, is often really difficult. And because of that, without clear ownership before an incident, well, there's frankly little incentive to proactively stick your neck out and fix problems.
Especially if it's not clearly in your job description.
Exactly. Many IT professionals adopt the mindset, look, if it's not explicitly my responsibility, I'm not going to volunteer to fix it, especially if it's not actively on fire right now. This means real security risks get silently ignored because nobody wants to be blamed for touching something outside their defined role or for potentially breaking something while trying to fix a non-urgent security issue.
We saw this play out with an organization that had this shared database server used by several internal apps. Kind of grew organically over the years.
The forgotten workhorse server?
Totally. Over time, developers added various test accounts, some with admin rights, a sysadmin trying to boost performance, disabled detailed logging. And nobody really tracked who had access because the server had no single dedicated owner. It just existed.
Uh-oh.
Then a third-party contractor logs in using a shared credential someone gave them and accidentally uploads a malicious script as part of a legitimate file transfer. The breach goes undetected for weeks because, well, no logging.
And nobody was watching specifically?
Nobody. When it was finally discovered, leadership asks the crucial question, okay, who owns this database server? And there was just silence.
Finger-pointing time.
Complete finger-pointing. The dev team said, that's infrastructure. Infrastructure said, we just host it, supports a dev project. The security team, they barely knew the server existed. The result was stark. Nobody owned it, so nobody secured it. Nobody was watching it.
It's such a simple but profound truth in security. If no one owns it, no one secures it. That lack of clear, proactive accountability is a silent but absolutely deadly threat.
And you know, all these issues we've been discussing, the inertia, the fear, the fragmented responsibilities, they often cascade directly from the very top.
Leadership.
Right. The issue of management doesn't prioritize it.
Yeah.
Even the most security-conscious IT folks can only do so much if they don't have support from leadership.
Absolutely. Tone at the top is critical.
So what are the clearest signs that leadership isn't really taking cybersecurity seriously? And what's the downstream impact?
Well, without that genuine leadership support, and that means providing adequate funding, making security a clear priority, and consistently enforcing policies, security effectively becomes optional, or at least non-urgent.
Just another item on a long list.
Exactly. This shows up in budgets that consistently favor speed or new features over protection. It shows up when security initiatives get delayed indefinitely because they're not seen as revenue generating. It shows up in those dismissive responses to breach warnings like, has it actually happened to us yet? No. Okay, then don't worry me with hypotheticals. Security roles end up understaffed, or maybe general IT staff are just expected to magically do security on the side without dedicated time or training. It sends a very clear message down the entire chain of command.
We saw a classic example with a fast-growing SaaS company, software as a service. The CTO was laser-focused on scaling the infrastructure, shipping new features, hitting growth targets.
Understandable pressure in a startup.
Totally. But they had one security engineer on staff, and she repeatedly raised concerns. Insecure APIs, no MFA on the admin portals, hard-coded secrets baked into the source code. Serious stuff.
Red flags. Big ones.
Big red flags. She asked for budget to buy a proper secrets management tool, asked for time to implement OAuth 2 for authentication, asked for dedicated developer time to conduct a security audit before the next major release.
Reasonable requests.
Seemed reasonable. But leadership kept saying, yeah, good ideas, we'll circle back next quarter. Right now, we've got this huge product demo for investors coming up. All hands on deck for that.
Kicking the can down the road.
Constantly. So the engineer did what she could with limited resources, with those major security gaps. They remained wide open. Months later, a security researcher finds an exposed admin portal. No MFA. Simple credential guess gets them in. Researcher reports it publicly on Twitter.
Ouch. Public disclosure.
Within hours, the story gets picked up by cybersecurity blogs. The company's reputation tanks, those investor talks, stalled immediately. The CTO starts demanding answers. How could this happen? But by then, the damage was done. Damage that could have been prevented if leadership had just taken those concerns seriously when they were first raised.
It's textbook. If leadership doesn't visibly invest in and prioritize security, the entire organization, consciously or unconsciously, treats it as optional.
Until it's too late.
Until it's painfully, obviously too late. It really is a top-down problem with severe bottom-up consequences.
Okay, this next point is fascinating because it's kind of a paradox. Security is invisible when done right.
The thankless job problem.
Exactly. When security works perfectly, nothing happens.
Right.
There's no breach, no critical alerts firing off, no emergency downtime. And because nothing visibly breaks, security work often goes unnoticed and, frankly, underappreciated. Especially by decision makers, maybe even by some IT staff focused on visible projects.
It's hard to measure the value of something that didn't happen.
Precisely. How do you prove the return on investment for something that, by its very nature, is designed to prevent disaster, to keep things quiet?
That is the core challenge, isn't it? This invisibility means executives struggle to see a tangible ROI. What did we get for that security spend? IT staff might prioritize more visible wins, like a system performance upgrade everyone notices. And security teams. They constantly struggle to get the buy-in, the budget, the resources they desperately need because their successes are silent.
It's like preventative car maintenance.
How so?
Well, if you regularly change the oil, check the brakes, rotate the tires, nothing dramatic happens. Your car just keeps running smoothly. You don't actively see the engine not seizing up or the brakes not failing.
Right. You only notice when you don't do it and things go wrong.
Exactly. Skip it long enough, though, and suddenly everything breaks down. But by then, you're paying for expensive repairs, dealing with major inconvenience, damage that could have been quietly avoided all along.
That's a perfect analogy. We saw this with a financial services company. They went 3 solid years without a single security incident, despite being a constant target. Why? Because they'd made significant investments. Good endpoint protection, proper network segmentation, regular phishing simulations for employees, a well-tested incident response plan.
They were doing things right.
They were doing things right, but then the CFO starts looking at the budget, sees the line item for security 6 figures a year, and starts asking questions. Why are we spending all this money when we've never even been hacked?
The invisibility paradox biting them.
Totally. So they decide to optimize. Cut the security budget, eliminate the simulated phishing training. Our people know better by now. Defer the license renewals for the advanced endpoint protection. The basic stuff is probably fine.
Oh dear, I can see where this is going.
6 months later, an employee clicks on a real phishing email, enters their Microsoft 365 credentials into a very convincing spoofed login page. Attackers get access, start pulling down internal documents, client data. The quiet protections that had prevented disaster for 3 years were removed because their positive impact was, by design, invisible, until it wasn't.
Wow. It really hammers home that point.
Yeah.
Security is like oxygen. You don't notice it when it's there, you take it for granted, but you really notice it when it's gone, and by then it's already a critical emergency.
Quick said it better myself.
Okay, let's unpack another sneaky one. This happens all the time. Shadow IT and quick fixes.
Ah, the hidden network. Things IT doesn't know about.
Exactly. Imagine trying to secure your house, right? You've got locks, alarms, But maybe your teenager keeps installing new unmonitored doors and windows in their room without telling you. That's kind of like shadow IT.
That's a good way to put it. Stuff operating outside official channels.
What really drives this? And why does it introduce such serious risks?
Well, shadow IT is basically any technology, any system, any cloud service that gets set up and used without the knowledge, approval, or oversight of the official IT or security team.
And it's usually not malicious, right?
Often not at all. It's usually born from good intentions. Teams are just trying to solve a problem quickly, maybe hit a deadline. Official IT approval processes can sometimes feel slow or bureaucratic.
So people find workarounds?
They find workarounds. Marketing spins up their own cloud drive because the corporate one is clunky. Developers might bypass security checks to push code faster. Employees might use personal devices or apps for work stuff because it's easier.
Convenience wins.
Convenience often wins in the short term. But these quick fixes, these shadow systems, they often lack basic protections. No MFA, maybe inconsistent patching, no security monitoring. And crucially, they are completely invisible to the security team.
Can't protect what you don't know exists.
Exactly. You can't secure it, you can't monitor it, you can't include it in your incident response planning if you don't even know it's there.
We had a marketing team, for instance. They found the company's official internal file sharing system way too clunky for collaborating with an external design agency.
Common complaint.
So one team member just creates a personal Dropbox account, shares the login credentials with the external agency for quick access to campaign assets.
Oh, shared personal account credentials.
Yep. And in that shared folder, mostly creative assets, sure, but also some internal client documents, strategy docs, and even some unencrypted customer PII, personally identifiable information from a mailing list.
Without IT knowing.
Corporate IT and security. No visibility whatsoever. It was totally outside the corporate domain, running on a personal account.
What happened?
Months later, that personal Dropbox account gets compromised in a credential stuffing attack. Attacker used leaked passwords from some other unrelated website breach. Sensitive customer data gets leaked. Nobody inside the company notices until customers start complaining about getting weird spam, maybe even fraud attempts, clearly linked to that marketing list data.
And leadership's reaction.
When the breach was finally traced back, leadership was absolutely stunned. Their response was literally, "We didn't even know we had company data in Dropbox."
Shadow IT really is like a hidden backdoor into your network, isn't it?
Totally. And those quick fixes people implement today, they become tomorrow's major security breach, often in ways that completely blindside the organization.
A hidden, ticking time bomb.
Okay, finally, let's explore a challenge that really underpins so many of these other issues. A fundamental lack of cross-team collaboration.
Breaking down the silos, or
Same.
failing to.
Exactly. Cybersecurity isn't just about the security team installing firewalls and antivirus, right?
Hey.
It truly requires everyone. Infrastructure, networking, development, operations, even non-technical teams like HR and legal play a role.
It touches everything.
It touches everything. But if these teams are operating in isolation, in their own silos, how does that impact the organization's overall security posture?
Oh, it's devastating. Because cybersecurity doesn't live neatly in one silo. It's intrinsically linked to every single part of an organization's technology stack, its processes, its people. But when teams operate in isolation, focused only on their specific tasks and responsibilities, you inevitably get communication breakdowns. You get dangerous assumptions like, oh, the network team must be handling the firewall rules for that, or security probably scanned that code, right?
Assumptions kill security.
They absolutely do. You get inconsistent implementation of security controls across different areas. You get critical delays because one team is waiting on another or information isn't shared. Without a shared understanding of security goals, decisions get made in isolation. And that's precisely where attackers find the cracks.
They exploit the gaps between the teams.
Exactly. Hackers don't care about your org chart. They exploit the gaps in communication just as much as they exploit gaps in code or configuration.
Consider a software company. Their DevOps team is building a brand new application, deploying it into production using a modern containerized microservices architecture on Kubernetes.
Sounds cutting edge.
Very much so. But here's how the silos played out. The development team, they pushed code that still had some hard-coded API keys in it. Quick fix during development, never removed.
Oops.
The operations team, they deployed it onto the Kubernetes cluster, but skipped enabling proper role-based access control and network policies because it was faster to get it running.
Cutting corners for speed again?
The security team, they weren't even looped in early enough. They barely knew this new app existed yet, let alone had time to review the architecture or code. And the network team. They opened the necessary external firewall ports for users to access the app, but didn't really audit exactly what services within the cluster were suddenly exposed.
So everyone did their little piece.
Everyone did their job according to their own siloed perspective. But nobody saw the full security picture. 2 months later, a security researcher discovers an open endpoint within the application cluster, no authentication required, publishes the exploit online. Complete blindsiding of the company.
And the post-mortem.
Internal audit reveals chaos. Nobody could definitively say where all the secrets were stored. Detailed logging hadn't been enabled. There was no threat model, no security review conducted before go live. Why? Because the teams never truly collaborated or communicated about the security implications of their individual actions.
It's such a clear lesson, isn't it? Hackers exploit those gaps in communication just as effectively as gaps in code. Security only really works when everyone is on the same page, collaborating effectively from the initial design all the way through deployment and operation.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's just abundantly clear, isn't it? Overlooking cybersecurity isn't just about, technical mistakes.
Yeah.
It's this really complex blend of human psychology, ingrained organizational culture, and the relentless pressure of just keeping things running day to day. We've explored how everything from that simple not my job mindset to the potentially fatal illusion of invulnerability and even that strange paradox of invisible security when it's done right all contributes to the challenge.
It's a multifaceted problem. No single silver bullet.
No silver bullet at all.
Yeah.
And for you, our listener, really understanding these root causes, these fundamental, often unseen reasons why security gets overlooked, that's the first crucial step. It's the foundation for building a genuinely more robust and resilient security posture wherever you work.
Awareness is the starting point for change.
It really is. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If good security is largely invisible when it's working, and bad security is often catastrophic when it fails, how do we make sure that the critical, often unseen work being done to protect our digital world actually gets the recognition, the resources, and the priority it truly deserves before it's too late?